Welcome back to Happy Health Hour, everybody. I am Nutesh Desanj, but who the real people are here? Dr. M is here, Dr. P is here, and Nurse Linda is back. This week, we are talking about my favorite subject, actually. We're talking about gut health. We're going to talk about two things, actually. We're going to talk about gut health.
Everything is God willing. There's no, anomalies or genetic issues. You're born squeaky clean. I just want to add to what Linda said. You're coming through a once sterile, so-called sterile environment, which you are contained in the womb, which is the uterine cavity. Then you're going to pass.
It's only partially true. We try to wash everything in our body with these antibacterial soaps. We want no molecules, nothing that could be contaminated, because bacteria are contaminated.
So let's do this. Why don't we? I think we're going to cover this so many times. I think we're going to do show after show on the microbiome, because it's obviously something that all our viewers want to hear about, and they want to learn more. But let's turn our attention now in these next 20 minutes to the gut-brain connection. I get what you're saying about that the gut is the source of many of our diseases, because it can inflame us and therefore degrade the immune system. But let's now turn to the gut-brain connection. Let's, Dr. M, why don't we start with you? Is there really a connection? Can you explain the connection? What is the real connection between the gut and the brain?
The connection,
I get the disease bit. I get the disease
cord. It's a connecting cord, really, but we're still like in our infancy in really understanding this. And again, like everything else, we've got a long way to go. But what we've found is the connecting cord. There's always a connector, and the cord is the vagus nerve. So there's a very important nerve between our brain and our brain stem, in particular the medulla area, which is the bottom portion. And that extends, that nerve tissue extends down into and disperses into the thoracic, that is the chest, and the abdominal areas. So we have the extension of the vagus nerve. Vagus means wandering, by the way. Comes from the Greek. It comes from the Latin meaning a wanderer. So, like a vagrant, vagaries. So you have this wandering nerve, but it's so powerful and so important. And the signaling that we can at least now determine based on what we've studied in mice, what's come out in the research, different sources, frontiers in medicine and infectious disease medicine, and even neurological journals have shown that this is an interplay between gut and brain, which really has us functioning. So we take things into the gut, and these foods and energies of different types affect how the gut is, with this vagus nerve touching the gut microbes. They signal back to the brain via this vagus nerve trunk, tell the brain what's going on. So they'll tell the brain what's going on. So the brain knows, okay, should I get sick, nauseous? Should I be feeling satiety? Should I be feeling fine, as if everything is fine? So when you get nauseous, or when you feel the jitters inside, or you have rumblings in your gut after you've been exposed to something, it can be immediate, or it could be a little delayed, like in the middle of the night thing, when you get up after you've eaten the wrong food and you get up and you're kind of in the bathroom all night. So that's due to vagal messaging. There are nerves that are there for the bacteria to say to the brain, we need to get rid of this stuff. We got to get rid of this stuff. So it's really an amazing integral system that between nerve and bug, that if you don't get this, you're going to not go through life very well. So those who get it, they know how to take care of their systems using the right foods and being around the right energies and all that. So this interaction is real. They've seen it through studying mice and humans. They watch these on these different scans and scopes, and and tapping into the vagus nerve, they can tell if they cut the vagus nerve, there's a disconnect. You could stop stomach acid by cutting the vagus nerve, but doing a vagotomy, as that would be called, you'd be screwing yourself up by cutting.
Yeah.
But they
Right.
see that there is a very important connection. And if a person has a vagotomy at the same time, if they used to do this when person was depressed or having severe anxiety, they would cut that nerve, and guess what happens to the depression?
Oh, so they knew, they obviously,
So that
it was on,
connection is so important, right? So if there's something that brings on the depression, like it's the disrupted microbiome, microbiome's not happy, tells the brain, we're not happy, we're not happy. And we get into these depressed moods or these low moods, or where, something happens to behavior. If you're eating garbage, the behavior can turn into something out of control. If you're eating garbage, the behavior, on the other hand, can turn you down, like bring you down. It's a little more complex than that. There's a lot more to it than that. But the basic understanding is amazing with the bacteria and how they signal. So they have found these signaling with the chemistry between the gut and the brain. So
So it's
there's a lot
literally-
going on here, and we have a lot to explore in terms of
Yeah.
all of these mechanics, the chemistry, the energies. Is it genetic? Do we have some genes involved? Some people more vulnerable, others not. There's a lot. It's very complex, but at least we know that the microbiome is so important. And there's a
So,
lot of
Dr.
research
P,
going on.
thank you, Dr. M. I love that. And that's going to be a little short that we can put out as well. That 7-minute segment you did will be a short that we'll put out. Dr. P, what are the sort of symptoms that let's say I don't have a great gut biome. What is it? Just depression? What other ways will this manifest itself in terms of this gut brain connection? What else? Is it just depression, or will I have other things? Will I be irritable? Will I have anxiety? What are the other things?
So think about it. If you are very simple, if you have diarrhea or if you have severe constipation, how do you feel? You get a headache, you're tired, you have a sense of something not being right.
I get irritable, massively irritable.
All this, gas, too much gas, you're just feeling bloated, something is not right. So the ancient Greek had remember the humors, these are not funny humors, the humors, and these were very important, a balance of these humors. You would be surprised to know that the same receptors that are in the gut are found in the brain, whether it's and that's what, when we try to treat for depression, the antidepressants, they can also be used for irritable bowel syndrome. So there is a deeper connection at a cellular level between the two. And when we affect the intestinal system, it can, there are certain peptides we have discovered. Those peptides are produced by our hearts and perhaps even by our stomach, that these can affect the brain. They go in the blood, in the circulation. If your liver is not working, if your intestines are not working, you can absorb certain poisons in the system, and that affect you. And we know this very well. Patients who have liver disease, they get confused, and you can see that society today is confused. I would say there is a deep loss of that connection. In our ancient system, in which the body was described as a psychosomatic body, the body was not just a collection of cells. There's a deep connection with the psyche. The emotions are connected to your body. You will realize that life force flows through your stomach. In fact, when the baby is born, where is the umbilical cord? The umbilical cord is not here into your brain. The umbilical cord is connected to your to the navel, right? And through that, the life force, and that life force, which is traditionally called prana or chi, that force goes through your abdomen or the gut. And when that goes down, our life force, our energy we start drooping. We don't have the drive, and we don't have the energy. We will not digest our food well. We will have diarrhea, lose stools. We might have life-threatening infections called Clostridium difficile, and those are terrible. Sometimes they're very difficult to cure. And you don't want to hear the cures that are there nowadays. Those, everyone will go yuck if I start describing them. So let me stop there and give it back to you, because I think Linda has much to add to it, and this is so much to add.
So, Nurse Linda, I think you have something to say, but I want to ask you very specifically, because I read this in something that Dr. M wrote. Could this could the gut microbiome, a poor microbiome, literally lead to Parkinson's and Alzheimer's as well?
Absolutely. Poor gut biome could lead to anything. If everything, let me just simplify this for everybody. And I've said this before, but I think it's a hard concept for everyone to understand. It truly is a hard concept for someone who does not know anatomy, does not know what a cell is, does not know what goes on within a cell, does not know how our bodies function. So the very act of my moving my mouth, my tongue, and the thoughts going through my head are all from chemical reactions, from chemicals that go from one nerve to another that make everything work. Chemicals that we create. And some of the chemicals that we create in our gut, we also create in our brain, vice versa. But if you can remember, please, people, if you can remember that you are nothing more than, it's another huge number. I don't even know how to even tell you what number this is. You are nothing more than chemical reactions. Everything you do, everything you think, every move you make, every thought you have, it's all chemistry. And what you put in is what drives it.
But I'm going to repeat the question, Nurse Linda. I'm going to repeat the question. So it's not just anxiety. It's not just. Are you saying that there's evidence, it's well enough established that with one of the impacts of a poor microbiome can be Parkinson's and Alzheimer's disease?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I would be surprised if you couldn't, and we have, there's a billion studies going on, but I would be surprised if science does not in some way connect almost every disease known to mankind to what's going on in the gut.
Okay.
It
Thank
creates
you,
a metabolic disorder. It's a metabolic disorder that happens.
Yeah.
Right.
At a cell level within the cell. So the organs within the cell. I mean, we're talking
organelles.
We're talking, more than the basic blueprint of life. We're now inside that blueprint.
Thank you, Nurse Linda and Dr. P. No, Dr. M, you have something to say. Then I have a question for you after you've said what you need to say.
Yeah, I wanted to add to the discussion about the Parkinson's that you're asking for. So yes, they have done the work so far, finding the reduction in certain very good bacteria, some of which are called Prevotella, Ficobacterium, and Roseburia. They are reduced. These are good bacteria reduced markedly in Parkinson's disease. So they looked at genetic markers. They've looked at, a lot of these little elements here in terms of the gut, and finding that there's a lot of gut issues that are the beginnings, are the early parts of the Parkinson's syndrome and the Parkinson's disease as it manifests and unfolds. Constipation is one of the biggest symptoms. Speech and swallowing are also affected in Parkinson's, absolutely. And so they're finding that, there are these bacteria that are really reduced. And there is another marker called zonulin, which is very much an inflammatory marker in the gut that people, especially in functional medicine, we can measure the zonulin, and it tells us if the person is developing gut problems. And in something like this, in Parkinson's, we have increased zonulin, which is a big inflammatory marker, and it indicates that there's going to be a leaky gut happening, and likely is that which is the source, or could be a very big part of this development of this nasty neurodegenerative disease called Parkinson's. And they're also making connections to Alzheimer's and autism. So there's a lot right now that's underway, but we're seeing a lot of changes in these gut numbers. The numbers of the good bacteria are down in these people with neurodegenerative diseases. And it's very, very important that we know this. We also know that there's a microbiome, MYC. That means it has to do with the fungus. There's fungus in there that's good, and there's fungus that are bad. And all of that is also playing a role in here. So we've got to look at these bacteria and fungi much closer, and know how important it is to have the right stuff going in and around our bodies.
So, Dr. M, I gotta ask you, and Nurse Linda, I'll come back to you in a moment, and Dr. P as well. In the 10 minutes that are remaining, I think we got to spend some time on vagal nerve enhancement.
Yes.
Very precisely. Why don't you kick us off, and then Nurse Linda, and then Dr. P can have the final word. Kick us off in these last 9-10 minutes, very precisely about how we can, making it better. How do we make it better in terms of vagal nerve enhancement?
All right. So it's all about making the vagus nerve happy. You want happiness in the vagus nerve. And when you do things that are happy, pleasant, joyful, you stimulate the vagus nerve. So when you stimulate the vagus nerve through seeing beautiful things, seeing funny things, you are inducing a whole series of excited microbiome constituents. They become very happy. You have in the vagus nerve extending all the way down to the colon area, down into the lower area. And when you laugh and you giggle and you smile, you stimulate that vagus nerve. So it makes the microbiome say, oh, okay, we're having a good time. And that goes back to the brain, and everything is, it's back and forth. The brain is happy. The gut is happy. The gut is all smiling. And think of the falling in love thing. Fall in love, you're going to make your vagal nerve very happy, or is happy, because you get the jitters, your appetite comes down, you lose weight, you feel like something's happening, something good is happening. You forget time and space, something like that happens too, amnesia. But the point is, you want to do happy things. That's one. You want to do some good deep breathing exercises, very important. Concentrating, meditating, chanting, singing, as Linda does so well. Singing is very good for the vagus nerve. It stimulates, and it makes the microbiome happy. And then you have eating the proper foods. Make it you eat more fermented foods, the old-fashioned way, the cultured foods, the foods that were aged a little bit, right? So fermented foods, you're around the world, you have pickled foods, you have krauts, you have kimchis, you have misos, you have kombuchas, you have kefirs, you have yogurts, all of it cultured. It must be in your diet every day. And not only that, you want to help bring in that which the little bacteria love, because those fermented foods are going to give you more good bacteria. You want to feed the good bacteria in your body. Use garlic, onions, berries. These are prebiotics. We call them prebiotics. That's the food for the microbiome that you have. Prebiotic, garlic and artichokes and arugula and all your brassica, all your cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, sprouts, all good foods for the microbiome. And they help also stimulate one very important organism. It's called Akkermansia muciniphila. That helps keep your colon nice and smooth and slippery and prevents leaky gut. When you eat those foods, berries and garlics and onions and seeds and nuts, you're doing a world of good for your colonic lining so that you don't have the leak out into the bloodstream of bad things. So these are very important things to do, and having proper sleep, avoiding, sleep, 7 hours of sleep, uninterrupted. You also want to have yourself away from a lot of this electromagnetic radiation. Reduce it, mitigate it at the best you can. You really need to. And avoidance of a lot of other things. This would all help the vagus nerve do what it has to do and make that connection really happy.
That's quite brilliant. So you were talking there for 5 minutes. I think what we'll do is we'll get that into a little short, as well as the episode, and we'll put that out there. Nurse Linda, you're up next, and then we come to Dr. P for the final word. What can you add about making things better, vagal nerve enhancement, or whatever you want to say?
Well, I wanted to, Dr. M touched on another subject that absolutely probably needs its own episode, but leaky gut.
Leaky gut. Okay.
Leaky gut.
Okay.
So, So what causes all these issues? I mean, so what happened? What came first, the chicken or the egg? So the microbiome gets ill from whatever we're eating, drinking, breathing, whatever it is that we're doing, because there's so many things that can affect it. And then what happens is that this army of microbes cannot defend, the little cilia cannot defend the inside of the intestine where all of the absorption of all of this happens. Because remember, we're all chemicals. Everything we eat turns into some kind of chemical that we use. Every single cell in our body uses to stay alive. But it can't get there without those little cilia and the actual anatomy of the gut functioning.
And the cilia, and how will the cilia get there? What can you tell?
You're born with them. You're born with them.
No, you said they can't get there. So how would they get there? What can people do to make sure?
So you have to have a healthy microbiome to keep leaky gut from happening. And what is leaky gut? Leaky gut is when the normal anatomy of these little things, the microbiome breaks down and then can't protect the lining of the gut, then things cannot pass through it properly. And what happens is a cascade of inflammation. And it is a cascade, and it's a giant cascade, and that's where illness comes from. So now we're at the actual root cause of what happens. If the microbiome is not working properly, then the actual anatomy and physiology of the gut will not work. And then you have leaking of all kinds of bad things into the system, which causes a generalized inflammatory process and every disease you can think of from there.
Thank you, Nurse Linda. Dr. P, whatever you want to say as the closing remarks, but also anything else you can add about vagal nerve enhancement. I've learned so much today. Vagal nerve enhancement, a new phrase I've learned today.
I think one important thing is awareness. We need to become aware. It's not just knowing intellectually, but truly seeing for ourselves and perceiving it directly rather than through information. And further, not just through bookish knowledge, but perception directly. That comes with often the having developed a sensory awareness of your own body, how it works, a sensitivity towards the body, what it can take, what it should not take. Because yes, we have a genetic substructure that kind of helps regulate the whole system, but we can manage that genetic substructure with how we live, how we control life. And it is not just at the conscious level, you can even control the life at the subconscious level and even the cellular level. If we learn the art of controlling our cells, bringing them to a happy state, as Dr. M said, bringing them good vibes, good energy, good foods, good nutrition, then we can look towards a state of what is called arogya, freedom from illness. Remember, we think our bodies have their own systems to protect us. Yes, of course they do. But the first line of defense for our body is given to us by these bacteria. So suddenly, if you look at them, they become your friends. And they are not just in your gut. They are everywhere. They are on your skin. They are in your mouth. They're in your nostrils. They're in your eyes. They're in your ears. And this whole mindset that we have to get rid of bacteria is itself an unnatural mindset. In fact, we should learn how to enhance these bacteria and enhance our own body's ability to interact with them. And that would be a state of freedom from illness. So let me stop there and throw it right back at you.
Well, that was going to be the last word, but Dr. M is signaling that she'd like to say something, and that will be our last word for this week. Dr. M.
We should bathe ourselves in the forest. We should bathe ourselves in the sunshine. Go to the ocean. Go to the mountains. You have plenty of microbes everywhere in those environments, and they just, it's all one. It's just a oneness. Let us be one with our environments that we should not be destroying. We're destroying this and we're destroying that. Whatever that is and wherever that is, we have to stop the destruction. Let us nurture our biome, the whole of the biome.
That's
Dr.
good.
M.
Very good.
Dr. M, that was really wonderful. Thank you for ending the show with that very holistic view of everything. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. M. What an educative hour that we've just had. Nurse Linda, welcome back. You have just been fantastic. As always, please stop taking vacations, because we need you on the show. And Dr. P, thank you for your philosophy, your energy, and relating all of this that we talk about to everything else, this connectedness. We really appreciate that as well.
Don't forget my Greek etymology.
Greek etymology we're all trying to forget, I'll be honest with you. Everybody, viewers, please keep subscribing. What an hour that you've just had. So much content. You've probably had 40 hours of education about from three extraordinarily mighty thinkers and practitioners in this area. Please, please, please subscribe, view us, and reach out to us. I know many of you have started asking questions. We're figuring out how we're going to answer those questions. So bear with us if you haven't had answers. We're just going to figure out how we do that in future. But reach out to us, reach out to the doctors and Nurse Linda for advice. That's really what we want to achieve. We want to do more for everybody. Thank you again, everybody, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.